Would you like to learn how to make a delicioso Puerto Rican pernil? Just like this? You would? Good. Because in this episode of the Lisa D's Delight Show, I'm going to show you how to do it.
Lisa D Delight.
Let's get started by rinsing off the picnic pork shoulder with some cool water and some vinegar. I add vinegar a few times and rinse it off, and then the last time I add some vinegar and I let it sit on there and stay because the vinegar helps with the tenderizing process. When you buy your picnic pork shoulder, I would suggest to get the bone-in one. The bone adds more flavor to the meat. This happens to be the butt portion. This is what happens when you're lazy and you rely on Instacart instead of going to the store your dang self. So unfortunately, this one doesn't have a good fat cap, which is most people's favorite part. But I'll put a video above showing you how to get your panier's fat cap nice and crispy. Like this one here that I made last Easter, it was fire. Now let's make a delicious seasoning paste for the pernil by mixing together some adobo, garlic powder, onion powder, cracked black pepper, sazon, oregano, and olive oil. So my first tip for making a super flavorful roast pork is to use way too much salt on her. She's a big girl, so she needs a lot of salt. The salt will render out all throughout the meat, and your end product will be a nice flavorful pernil. After you mix this all up, you want to give it a taste, and it should taste extremely salty. I mean, salty like the sea. I use adobo as my salt because it's more flavorful. The ingredients list and measurements and such will be in the description box below. But as far as the salt, to give you a good rule of thumb to go by, whatever your pernil weighs, take that weight and divide it by 2. So divide it in half. And that will give you the maximum amount in tablespoons of salt that you should use. So an example would be if your pernil is 10 pounds, divided by 2, that's 5. That means that you should use 5 tablespoons of salt. But give it a taste and adjust to your liking. But I'm telling you, it needs a lot of salt. Give it a good stir, get everything all nice and well combined, and then add in some Sofrito or green seasoning. Green seasoning is a blend of garlic, lots of garlic. Garlic is the main ingredient in pernil. Garlic, cilantro, multicolored bell peppers, and onions. I also added to this the juice of 1 orange and 2 limes. My production team lost that clip again. You just can't get good help these days. It must be DEI. Now I'm carving slits all over the picnic shoulder in order to get the seasonings all up and through. And now I'm adding dollops of the seasoning paste onto the picnic shoulder and giving her a good old rub down. Being sure to get the seasoning in all of the slits. My second tip to a super yummy picnic shoulder, I keep calling it picnic shoulder. This right here is actually a pork butt. Anywho, tip number 2 is to let it marinate for as long as possible. Ideally, you want to shoot for letting it marinate for 3 days in the fridge. But if you don't have that type of time, at least try to do 1 day. But because I'm a culinary content creator, darling, I don't get those type of luxuries. So I just had to make it do what it do. My third tip to a really good pernil is to cook it low and slow. By cooking it at a low temperature for a long time ensures that the meat won't dry out, which means it will retain its juices, making it more flavorful, juicy, and delicious. So I like to cook mine at 250 overnight. So you want to cook it for 1.5 hours per pound. So my pork butt was 11 pounds, so I cooked it overnight for 16 hours. But if you don't have time like that, you can use the quicker method. You can roast it at 350 degrees and you will let it cook for 40 minutes for every pound. So for example, if your pork roast was 10 pounds, you would let it cook for 4 hours. This is what it looks like after 16 hours. I removed the foil, bumped the temperature to 450. I'm gonna let it brown up for about 10 minutes and then it's done.
Lisa D Delight.
My God, forever. Won't he do it? Yes, he will all the time. You already know this pernil was the bomb.com. Stop playing with me. Just try the recipe, beloved, and you can thank me later. After all, I was just trying to help your palate. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Lisa got them dishes, that's a life for when she cook. Guarantee you if you visit, you subscribe and if she cook. Double take a second look, and she don't need no book. The kitchen female, shit complete, I get the vibe when she cook.